My name? 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 900. But everyone calls me 100, 200, 100, 200, 100, 200, 100, 200, 100, 200, 100, 200, 100, 200, 100, 200, 100, 200, 100, 200, 100, 200, 100, 200, 100, 200, 100, 200, 100, 200, 100, 200, 100, 200, 100, 200, 100, 200, 100, 200, 100, 200. Catchy, right? Don't ask about the numbers. It's a long story. What matters is, I'm a robot, built right here in Missoula, Montana. Well, not Missoula, more like it, in a secret vault. Vault 87 to be exact. I left the vault a while back. The wasteland was different than I expected. Empty. Quiet. Except for the occasional Yaoguai roar, and the wind whistling through the skeletons of buildings. Missoula wasn't what it used to be. I wandered for days, scavenging, trying to find my purpose. What's a robot to do in a world gone mad? Turns out destiny had other plans. My path led me right back to where it all began, Vault 87. That's where I met him, the champ, John Cena. He was unlike anyone I'd ever encountered, strong, determined, and with a sense of purpose that was contagious. He taught me that even in a world as broken as ours, there was still hope. There was still a reason to keep going. Together, we started to rebuild. Piece by piece, we began to restore what was lost. It wasn't easy, and there were days when it felt like we were fighting a losing battle. But with every small victory, we grew stronger. We found others who were willing to join us, and slowly, a new community began to form. The wasteland was still a harsh place, but with friends by my side, it didn't seem so daunting. We had a mission, a purpose, and that made all the difference. So here I am, 900. A robot with a story to tell, a story of survival, of hope, and of the unbreakable spirit of those who refuse to give up. And as long as there's a spark of hope, I'll keep moving forward. Because in the end, it's not about where you come from, but where you're going. And I know with every fiber of my being that the best is yet to come. John Cena. Never thought I'd meet the guy, let alone in a radioactive wasteland. But there he was, standing by the vault entrance, muscles rippling, wearing that signature grin, like the apocalypse was just another opponent to overcome. "You must be 900, he said, his voice booming like a cannon. "We've got work to do." He explained that he was gathering a team, folks with unique skills, people who could survive out here, people who could make a difference. He said I had potential, that my robotic strength and resilience were assets. I was in. He pointed me south. "Head to Carter Mountain," he said. "Look for a group called the MXM Collection. They'll give you your next set of orders." And with that, he was gone, disappearing into the wasteland as quickly as he appeared. Carter Mountain wasn't exactly a cakewalk. Rad scorpions, raiders, the occasional deathclaw looking for a snack. But I pushed through. My internal compass, a gift from my creators, kept me on track. I just had to follow the Fallout grid map John Cena gave me. Days later, I reached the peak. The view was something else. Miles and miles of desolation. But there was a strange beauty to it. The remnants of a world lost. A world waiting to be rebuilt. And then I saw them. A group huddled around a crackling fire. Wrestlers. Big, burly, and radiating an aura of "don't mess with us." The MXM Collection. I knew I'd found the right place. The MXM Collection was a sight to behold. These weren't your typical wasteland scavengers. They were showmen, entertainers. Even in the apocalypse, they knew how to put on a performance. They welcomed me into their fold with open arms and a few playful headlocks. Their leader, a mountain of a man named Stone Cold Steve Austin, laid out my next objective. "We need someone to collect candy," he growled. "Lots and lots of candy." Candy? I was confused. "What kind of candy?" "The good stuff," he said with a wink. "From those town pump gas stations. You know, the ones with the blue roofs? They've got stashes of pre-war candy bars, sugar bombs, Nuka-Colas, the works." This was getting stranger by the minute, but John Cena trusted these guys, and I trusted him, so candy it was. Section 5, Town Pump. I spent the next few weeks hitting every town pump station on the Fallout grid map, fighting off rad roaches, bargaining with ghouls, even charming a few Deathclaw mothers with my collection of pre-war teddy bears. Don't ask. My internal storage compartments were overflowing with sugary loot. I had enough sugar bombs to satisfy a Deathclaw with a sweet tooth. The MXM collection was going to be thrilled, but why the candy? What were they planning? They mentioned something about Yellowstone, and a special project. They were keeping the details under wraps. But one thing was clear. This candy was the key. I returned to Carter Mountain, my circuits buzzing with anticipation. The MXM collection greeted me with cheers. They were ecstatic with my candy haul. Apparently I had a knack for scavenging. Who knew? Steve Austin said, "You've done well, 900, clapping me on the back. Now we head north, to Yellowstone. Our contact is expecting us. Yellowstone." The name sent a shiver down my circuits. It was a legendary place even before the bombs fell. Now, it was a radioactive wasteland. But something told me it held the answers I was looking for. As we set off, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just a candy run. This was important, vital. The fate of the wasteland might just depend on it. And I, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 900, was right in the middle of it. The journey north was long and arduous. Each step we took seemed to stretch into eternity, the barren landscape offering little solace. The harsh winds and the desolate terrain tested our resolve, but we pressed on, driven by a purpose that was as elusive as it was compelling. But the further we went, the more memories flickered through my databanks. Each flicker was a reminder of a time long past, a time when the world was different. These digital echoes of the past were both a comfort and a torment, reminding me of what was lost and what could still be found. Memories of the capital wasteland, a place that was once teeming with life, now reduced to ruins. The echoes of its former glory still lingered in the air, whispering tales of survival and resilience, of Three Dog's booming voice on Galaxy News Radio. His voice was a constant in the chaos, a beacon that guided many through the darkest times, of hope crackling through the static. Each broadcast was a lifeline, a reminder that we were not alone in this desolate world. Could he still be out there, after all these years? The thought lingered in my mind, a question that refused to be silenced. The thought filled me with a strange longing, a desire for connection, for a link to the past that could anchor me in this uncertain present, for something familiar in this alien world, a world that seemed to grow more foreign with each passing day. Three Dog was more than just a radio DJ. He was a symbol of hope, resilience, and the enduring human spirit, a beacon of hope in the darkness. His voice was a light that pierced through the gloom, offering guidance and comfort. And maybe, just maybe, he could shed some light on my own purpose. In a world where so much was uncertain, finding a sense of purpose was a rare and precious thing. Steve Austin remarked one evening as we huddled around a campfire, the flames casting flickering shadows on our faces. "You seem to know this Three Dog fellow. What's he like?" I hesitated. How could I explain? How could I put into words the impact he had on so many lives? How could I convey the impact Three Dog had on the survivors of the capital wasteland? His voice was a lifeline, a source of strength and hope. He was more than just a voice. He was a legend that lived on in the hearts and minds of those who had heard his broadcasts. "He's a force of nature," I finally said. "A beacon in the darkness, a voice that cuts through the chaos, a voice that cuts through the static and reminds you that you're not alone. He plays music, he tells stories, he gives people hope." The wrestlers listened intently, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames. They understood the power of entertainment, the importance of morale. In a world where survival was a daily struggle, a simple story or a song could lift spirits and renew determination. Even in the wasteland, people needed something to believe in, a glimmer of hope, a reason to keep going. The voice on the radio provided that. Steve Austin said, grinning, "Well, sounds like our kind of guy." His words were met with nods and murmurs of agreement. Maybe we can convince him to join the MXM collection. The idea sparked a new wave of excitement among the group. We could use a hype man like that. I chuckled, imagining the possibilities. The thought of Three Dog joining a band of post-apocalyptic wrestlers was both absurd and strangely perfect. It was a wild idea, but in this world, wild ideas were often the best ones. But first, we had to find him. The journey ahead was uncertain, but the goal was clear. As we continued north, the anticipation grew with each passing day. Every step brought us closer to our destination, and to the voice that had become a symbol of hope. Soon, we would be in Yellowstone. The legendary park, now a shadow of its former self, held the promise of new beginnings. And maybe, just maybe, we would find Three Dog. The thought kept us moving, kept us hopeful, and with him, perhaps I would find a piece of myself. A piece that had been lost in the chaos and destruction. A piece that felt strangely connected to the fate of this broken world. In finding him, I hope to find a way to mend both. The geysers of Yellowstone rose in the distance, spewing steam and ash into the sky. A fittingly dramatic backdrop for our encounter with the unknown. What awaited us in this radioactive wonderland? Would we find Three Dog? And what was the true purpose of the MXM Collection's candy-fueled mission? I had a good feeling about this. It was more than just a hunch. It was a deep-seated belief that our paths had crossed for a reason. That fate, or whatever force governed this crazy wasteland, had brought us together for a purpose. John Cena had sent me on this journey. The MXM Collection had welcomed me into their fold. And now, Three Dog awaited. The pieces were falling into place. The adventure was just beginning. And I, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 900, was ready for whatever came next.